Welcome to the Women's Money Wisdom Podcast. I'm Melissa Joy, a certified financial planner and the founder of Pearl Planning. My goal is to help you streamline and organize your finances, navigate big money decisions with confidence, and be strategic in order to grow your wealth. As a woman, you work hard for your money, and I'm here to help you make the most of it. Now, let's get into the show. Do you ever see women and people who are succeeding beyond belief and wonder, how do they do it? I want to know their story. Well, today our guest, Veronica McGibney, is going to give us the background and the details because she's created a project that is all about female founders. So Veronica is the founder herself of Hoodies and Wine, where she works closely with early stage founders to develop their brand message and tell their story. But more recently, she has founded and created a new magazine called LeadHer, and their inaugural publication is out right now as we speak. And she is spotlighting female founders, telling their raw and real journeys, how they do it, but also like what it's like on the inside when you're not just looking at the Instagram reel. I'm so excited for this conversation. And Veronica, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited and anxious and nervous. And so if I do weird things with my hands, just bear with me.
Well, we're just being real, so I'll do the same. And we met at a networking event, and you were telling your story about your new magazine. And I was just thrilled, first of all, to hear from someone who had a vision and then is doing it, creating it. You have a launch party coming up. You're doing both a print publication as well as a digital publication. And so kudos, first of all, congratulations on this new venture.
Thank you. Yes, I'm definitely somebody who, when I have a vision or an idea or a thought, I'm typically 0 to 100 and hit the ground running. And typically then the momentum, if there is some, will continue to carry the thought. And so that is really what has happened with the magazine, and the momentum's been absolutely phenomenal. So I'm just going to keep going.
Well, you have a background in fashion merchandising and branding. Tell me a little bit about what you've done to date and, kind of the work that you love before we start talking about the magazine.
Yeah, so I definitely have this creative side, and through the fashion merchandising, I just didn't really live in any big cities that cater to that, New York, LA. And so getting into that was really tricky. I did do some international buying when I was in Okinawa, Japan. And so I got to really embrace that creative side. And then when I moved back to the States, refinding my footing on, what that path was going to look like moving forward. I found myself in sales for a little while, and that just was not for me. I needed to find something that fed my soul. And I'd always kind of done branding on the side for friends, for, people that I would meet. And so it really became imperative to me that it's so important to have a cohesive messaging, know your ICP, your ideal customer profile, who you're talking to and why. And a lot of times, if you're doing that yourself, you're just too close to the project. And so it really helps to have that, outside perspective to help give you that cohesion and clarity when you go to market, when you bring on your marketing person to bring that all together. And so both of those things tied in. I mean, it was going well, but there was something still missing. And then I went on this business retreat to really dive deep, answer the hard questions, and make sure that I was on the path that I wanted to be on. If this is going to be my life for the next however many, what's that going to look like? And it was the last day, last question, last hour of this, full day. So we got there day one, spent the night, day two. And so day two came about, and it really just, it hadn't come to me quite yet until that last question. I was like, it's okay. Other people are leaving with like, this aha moment. And I'm like, it's okay. I've got tools that I can go home and sit on it and think. And then that last question, it's like, don't miss the stay till the end, because that could be the moment when you have your aha moment. And it hit me like running into a brick wall. I mean, the idea just, there was no ands, ifs, or buts. This was it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to do. And I knew it was going to be for female founders. And I came home and sat down and figured out all the things and announced it. And boom, we've just been go time since.
So how long ago was that?
August 15th, I believe, was when I got on LinkedIn and
Wow.
shared it with the world that, hey, I'm doing a thing, and I think that the retreat was maybe June. So I spent maybe like a month and a half, but I was way too excited. Like I went home, I built the website, I researched, names and, is this available? Is someone using this? Like what's going on? So, and just, one thing after the next. And I couldn't keep it in, it was something that like, I figured this thing out and I was so excited to share it.
I love that. And I've had those moments myself, and we're going to get into the project in a moment. But first, for those of you listening, I love thinking about branding and love building a brand for my business, Pearl Planning, or even the podcast, Women's Money Wisdom. But also, I think when you learn about branding, you realize how it can apply to yourself individually and personally as well, helping you to be a more true and authentic version of yourself, and, know yourself so you can kind of explain yourself to others. So as you're listening, whether you are a founder or have some idea that you're waiting to get out into the world, or not, you haven't hit that pivot moment. I think that branding has so much value, whether it's in business or on the personal side.
Absolutely. That's such a great point. And there can be crossover between your personal brand and your business brand. There can be a lot of crossover, and it is more of a personal brand if your brand is just around your business, or there can be a whole separate entity, a whole nother persona that is your business. And so sometimes it's important to clarify, those differences.
Absolutely. Especially at the start of a new year. I also, you described where you were sitting in your, kind of retreat and didn't have that aha or clarity. I've had so many moments in my business life where there have been many moments of clarity, many moments where I can see far into the future where I want to build. But there's also been moments where I haven't been able to see, and that's when I start to look for pivots, like the need to like really figure out, okay, what's next? Because when I don't see out 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, then what, input is telling me is like, hey, you may need to shake things up, because I've been on several pathways over my career. And sometimes the things that served you in the past aren't going to serve you in the future.
Absolutely. I think that's an amazing point, because we're constantly growing, right? And changing, and circumstances in our life change, and we grow as a person. Circumstances could be positive or negative, right? In our life.
Absolutely.
And that's going to change our course of action, and, where we want to be, where we thought we were going to go, and how we thought we were going to do it. So I think it's so imperative to always kind of reevaluate, where am I at? What does this look like moving forward? And if you don't have those like visions, those thoughts of like, I can totally like see this becoming ABCD, then yes, right? Maybe you need to shake things up.
And sometimes I need to muddle on that, but I just like really appreciate
Yeah.
those moments of clarity, knowing that I haven't always had them as well. So I happen to be sitting in a business moment where I can see much further into the future and I'm really enthusiastic about it than I've had at points in the past. So you've got to appreciate those moments, but also, like use, be curious if you aren't in that moment right now.
Yes, absolutely. I love that.
So let's talk about the LeadHer project.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about how your first issue, which has just come out, like it's brand new, baby newborn. Tell me a little bit about what came together. Yes, there it is.
This is my rough draft that I had sent to me, but sorry, your question one more
No,
time.
just like I want to. So when you like had the aha, then you're like,
Mm.
okay, I'm going to do something. It's going to be like physical as well as digital. So it's kind of native to um the way we, the glossy magazines that where we grew up with, as well as, the digitally native world that we live in. So what came of this concept? You had the vision, and now what
Yep.
is it today?
Yeah, so I had the vision and it is growing. So let's start with so the vision was I'm just going to do a magazine. I want to get other female founders out there. I want our voices to be heard and I want to tell the real stories.
I
I
love it.
think that with social media, and I can tell, when you start talking about a thing, you start seeing it more and more places.
Yes.
So I am seeing more and more people start to talk about their realities of what it really looks like, which is great. And I just, in that moment, was like, I'm just so tired of trying to make it look easy, trying to pretend like I know it all, trying to pretend like, you know, it happened in the blink of an eye. Cause I really think, we see these social media accounts and you're like, how come it worked for her? Or it looks like she just did it in a
It
day.
looks so
Or,
easy. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And that's not it. And it's hard. And then, of course, you do see people on social media who are like late nights, early mornings. What does that mean? Like okay, like 9 o'clock at night or 1 a.m. and it's not just like late, it's like exhausted late nights. It's like trying to keep your eyes open late nights. It's late nights with, if you have littles, they're still calling for you. So you're still getting interrupted and
And the
so,
hard moments of choosing between what your business needs and maybe what your
yeah,
family needs, because
absolutely.
time is
And
certainly a very scarce resource when it comes to starting something from
absolutely.
scratch.
Absolutely. And then whether you have kids or not, right? So I just wanted to shine a light on that. And so it started very basic landing page, just so people could go somewhere and say,
It
this is a thing.
exists.
What is
Yeah.
this? And, I was reaching out just with my branding. I had built a network of female founders. And so I just was like, you know, hey, friend, do
Hmm.
you want to be in the magazine? And I had no idea that people were going to be like, hell yes. I didn't know. I wasn't sure how other people would view it. I just knew that this was a passion project for me that had to come out, not knowing what would come from it. And it really didn't matter. It was something for my soul. And so now it has gone from this idea, one page landing page website, to asking friends if, hey, maybe you want to be in this thing, to now it has 150 people who are on the, wait list for it to, be announced, which when this airs, it will be available. Go grab a copy. And we have about 40 women on a wait list who want to, share their story. We are bringing on columnists because there are women who want to help write inspirational and helpful pieces for the magazine around like mental health or legal advice or things like that. And, you know, we're still growing beyond what I can even imagine. So that's where we're at.
How many people did you interview for the first issue?
There are
And ballpark
include
is fine.
yeah, including cover story 13.
Okay.
Um, we will be only having 10 moving forward just to keep, because the more stuff you have in it, the more the magazine costs, right? And I don't
Absolutely.
know if people want to buy $100 magazine. So
Makes sense.
yeah, so we'll be keeping it to 10, but I was not prepared for the snowball when I was asking people, and so we featured a few more.
And then what were some of the stories that really spoke to you that you were like, "Oh my
Oh,
gosh, I never expected to have this conversation?"
huh. I don't there's definitely not just one story
Right.
in any way, shape, or form, because this is, I think, the most beautiful thing about the magazine is everybody has a story, and everybody's story is different, and everybody's story has struggles and triumphs and gumption and losses. Like it's just, there is absolutely not one story that I could pick that has spoken to me more than another. Um they have all moved me in absolutely different ways.
That makes sense. I think like one of the commonalities for business founders, I mean, you can't market a business with like this is really tough and I don't know if we're going to make it. But
Right.
so everybody or most of the people that I talk to have those moments where they're just like I'm not sure if this is going to work or
Oh.
oh, turns out like I have a ton of revenue but my expenses are as much or more or all
Mhm.
sorts of things that or unbeknownst to me like I have a bad medical diagnosis or loss or so many different ways that can kind of come up against entrepreneurs and founders. And, we just don't see that from the outside looking in. So sharing that,
Right.
like, we're real people just like everybody else. And I
Mhm.
hope gives people the courage to consider trying things if they have an idea that they want to kind of get out into the world.
Yes, absolutely do. Like, there was this so I do think people should try. Anytime someone says try to me, though, my parents kind of raised me with this, like, if you're going to like a baseball game and someone says, I'll try to be there,
Mm,
don't say a seat,
right.
because they're not going to make it. But if
Very
someone says, hey,
Midwestern, right? Like, never like to
yeah,
say no.
right. But if someone says, hey, I'll be there, save them a seat, because 9 times out of 10, those people are going to show up. So I think a big thing is if, and I understand like the concept, like if you're going to, like, you want to start something, you should at least just do it. Whether it becomes a thing is another, like, that's where the word try, I think, comes in, but you should just do it. Like, I'm going to do this, not I'm going to try to do this. Just say, like, I'm going to do it and do what you can, take the steps you need moving forward, and then reevaluate as you're going through. Is this the right path? And I've absolutely had other ventures that I was like, I'm going to do this, and I do it. And it's like, as you're going through, it's kind of like, something feels icky or not right, or it's not flowing as it should. And so, reevaluate at that point in time if you're on the right path.
Well, and not every venture has to be forever. I think that's something, some things have a moment in time where they're right. I've even thought about that with this podcast. Like, do
Mm.
I want to limit myself to marketing toward women? And the answer right now is yes. But like not everything has to be forever. It's not a failure to have a great run and then move on to something else. And these are some of the things, the conversations that oftentimes for a founder or someone creating something new, you don't have the community to share and discuss with. So I think that's one of the great advantages of what you're doing is you're creating a community, but also like putting into print examples of all sorts of experiences.
Yes, yes. And I mean, the vision for the magazine is to be more than that. I really want this to be more of an organization. And some of the pillars of the table is, of course, no more highlight reel is a pillar. Like, we're here to share the real raw stories of what this looks like. The other pillar is, that we are building the table not for others to just sit around, but strong enough for others to stand on.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
And then the third pillar is really, I believe people need and want to be heard, and they need an organization that's going to advocate for them. And so those are really the pillars right now that are supporting the LeadHer Magazine
I know
team.
one of the reasons that you founded the magazine is because there's a deficit when it comes to supporting and investing in
Mm.
women-founded ventures. Can you tell me a little bit more about this state of affairs today and what you hope to change with your project?
Yes. So I absolutely want to change the narrative around the 2% of funding that female founders get. We only get 2% of that right now.
So this is like
And
venture capital funding is the easiest place to measure, right? But just
correct.
most women who are starting businesses are doing what's called bootstrapping. They're using their own money, taking their own risks because even though we are starting a high percentage of new businesses, women typically do not receive a lot of the investment funds.
Right. Which is ironic considering I believe the statistic, and don't quote me, but I believe the statistic is when we do get the funding, we um, succeed 25% better than, anyone else. So it's kind of like this math is not mathing. And so I believe that it's visibility. I had actually just heard a story over the weekend. Well, I had gone to an event last week, the grand opening of Bamboo Grand Rapids.
Yes.
Yes, and there was a speaker who was talking about a woman in Detroit that she had been in business for like 8 years, but nobody really knew of her. And we need to be seen and heard. And that was just more, what's the word? More like clarity
Confirmation.
around,
Yeah.
yes, around the fact that like, it's go time, for the magazine. Like, this is where we're going to be. And so,
I agree. Like, as women, it's okay to ask. And as a community, as a broader society, there are rewards for investing in a diversity of entrepreneurial efforts, etc. And so I think it's really we're being well served by having this be part of your mission, Veronica. I have one last question since you've mentioned how important it is to get rid of the highlight reel and really, talk about honestly how things are going. What would you, as a founder of LeadHer, describe in terms of, the truth behind behind the curtain of what some of the challenges have been and how you've overcome them?
yes. So for me, my challenges revolve more around the fact that I have little kids, and they still need mom.
Yeah.
And I am married, and so, and I do also have a 20-year-old son. So I have a wide range of children.
Yes.
And
Complicated each in their own ways, right?
absolutely, absolutely. The 20-year-old calls and he's like, I got a flat, or
Yeah.
something along those lines, and it's on mom's on call, right? And so those are huge challenges for me right now. I typically work in chunks, right? My youngest goes to school for a chunk of time, pick her up, and chunk of time a little later, navigating babysitters and school stuff and juggling all of those things, sports activities, still maintaining a home.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a husband. Yes, he is helpful and supportive. He also works a very physical job, out in the elements in Michigan. He's a HVAC, so he is extremely exhausted when he gets home. And so I do like to do my best. My house is not tip-top shape all the time,
Oh my
by
gosh.
any means.
I'm sure I could win that competition, but
I
same.
don't know. I don't know. Right behind me currently, there's 2 coffee mugs and some water, but you know what I mean? It's just, but there are those moments where it helps me to clean, and I feel like that's something I can control, right? When things are chaotic, what can you control in those moments? Like, sit down and think. And having a clean home and getting some of that stuff done is very helpful for me to kind of refocus and recenter myself. But I would say that the biggest thing that has helped me, since my time and life are a little bit chaotic, is time blocking. And I mean, I will create a list on Monday of all the things that I hope or need to get done. And I have a business friend / coach who's also has a business, and that's been imperative, by the way. So if you can get
Like an accountability
someone,
partner.
yes. And it helps that accountability partner is going through her own founder journey. So we kind of help each other. But we talk every Monday, and we talk out all the things. When we first started our journeys, like when I was building Hoodies and Wine, the branding company, we'd have, what are the 3 tasks? We had heard this other podcast that had said, just think of 3. 5's usually too many. You'll drown if you can't get all your tasks done, and like 1 or 2 is not enough. So 3 is supposedly the sweet spot. And so it was so cute to look back at our cute little books and what are 3 tasks you want to get done for the week? We were literally talking a few Mondays back about how our lists are now 25 things. I'm like,
yeah,
3 things that doesn't even make sense anymore. How cute was that when we were first starting? What 3 things? But now I have like a task of 25 things, and then I break it down. Okay, which things am I going to get done on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? And I separate everything. And then I break it down like even to hourly. I know it sounds like a nut job thing.
No, this sounds like how it's got to be. That's great.
Well, it is for me. She does not like to have things written out hourly specifically, but her time, how she works is different. And so for me, then I like to even know, like, my daughter goes to school between 8 and 9. So I'm available to start working, 9 to 10, I'm getting this task done. 10 to 11 is this task. 11 to 12 is this task, and I had to leave to go pick her up. And then we're coming home, we're doing lunch, and we're getting situated. And then I can get probably this task, and it does not always work out how I anticipated. But, you reevaluate the next thing. You're like, what didn't I get done? What's high priority? What needs to
And
get done?
I mean, that is the thing is, for many of us, there's not just one job description that requires this, but the ability to be flexible and triage and, shift priorities. And also, I wish we were in a world where you could focus on a singular thing all at once for all day, but it just is not the way our world has been structured.
Yeah.
That figuring out your work style where you can, navigate in such a chaotic world is so important.
Yes. World, environment. And honestly, I have sat down where I've had like, blocks where I'm like, I need these 2 or 3 hours to focus on this one specific task. And I actually get very stir crazy. Maybe it's because my life is so chaotic. And so I'm so used to like bouncing around. But I almost like, if I'm working on the same thing for too long, I'm kind of like, okay. I need to stand. I need a breather.
You need to set it aside and pick it up again later. Yeah. Well, where can people find the magazine? It's going to be coming out quarterly, but
Yes.
give us a little bit of a plug of how to follow you and where to find you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I'm mostly on LinkedIn. That's my foundation over there.
I love LinkedIn too.
And I'm building up some other platforms. So you can find me on TikTok and Instagram. So LinkedIn, just my name, Veronica McGibney. And TikTok, Instagram is LeadHer Magazine. And you can also just go to the website and you can get information, leadhermagazine.com.
Perfect. Congratulations. I can't wait to see where this project goes. Keep up the amazing work, Veronica. And thanks for making a little bit of time for us in such a chaotic moment in your life.
No, thank you for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure and wonderful conversation. And I've had a blast. Have me back.
Will do. I'm in.
Thank you for listening to the Women's Money Wisdom podcast. If you found value in this episode, the best way that you can support the podcast is to forward an episode to a friend or leave a review. Go to proplan.com and the podcast link to get all the resources and links mentioned. This presentation by Pearl Planning is intended for general information purposes only. No portion of this presentation serves as a receipt of or a substitute for personal investment advice from Pearl Planning or any other investment professional of your choosing. Copies of Pearl Planning's current written disclosure brochure and Form CRS discussing our advisory services and fees are available upon request or on our website platform at pearlplan.com. The information that we share is meant to educate and inspire, not serve as personalized financial advice. Everyone's situation is unique, so be sure to consult with your own financial professional for guidance that fits your life. And just so you know, the opinions shared in this podcast are Melissa's own and those of her guests. They don't necessarily represent any organizations with which Melissa is affiliated. For more important disclosures, please go to our webpage at pearlplan.com.